New Zealand First Leader Winston Peters says the government's TAB deal with UK betting company Entain just doesn't stack up. The 25-year partnership will reverse falling revenues for racing and deliver at least $900 million in guaranteed funding for the industry over the next 5 years. But the former racing minister says the figures just don't add up. Winston Peters no Ngāti Wai Ngāpuhi is with us now. Tēnā koe matua, thank you for joining us.
Kia ora and good afternoon.
Now, we're talking about $900 million over 5 years at no cost to the taxpayer. What's not to like?
Well, what's not to like is that the fiscals or the analysis of this is very, very worrisome in the extreme. What you've got is that the statements being made suggest it's all great and it's all good. But we are losing control of a critical part of the industry, namely the TAB, and we will do for 25 years. And Entain, out of the UK, is not a charity. And so I've looked at all the figures and I say the jury is out because a lot of the statements that are being made here, when you trawl down and try and get answers, don't seem to stack up. And the real question is, has this country totally lost its mojo? Why can't we do these things ourselves, like we did in so many other areas and used to do here as well? And it's right that we needed reform. It's right we needed to be updated. But boy, have we wasted some money on the way through trying to get a system going which other countries have got and trying to reinvent a wheel that they have already got working for them.
Well, the government says without the deal, the TAB will fall over within 3 years. As a former racing minister, you'll have a pretty good understanding of the challenges in this area. Was there a better alternative than this agreement?
Well, that's the real question. And this was always a problem which had to be solved a long time ago. When I became the Minister of Racing for the second time in 2017, an enormous amount of money had been wasted on a system that wasn't working. And my question was, what on earth's going on? Why didn't you just go offshore, borrow the technology, buy the technology, steal whatever they're doing and bring it back to New Zealand? Instead of putting all these people on a IT case, so to speak, doing all this work and they didn't get it right. And so we're back now again with all these promises. Here's the point. Before we even start, why is there 40 million in reserve held back from the industry at the behest of Entain? There's a lot of questions here, which on a blackboard, with people sitting down who know what they're talking about, needs to be analysed out before we can come to a conclusion. That's what's not to like. You know, if it's too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true, actually.
Okay, now just looking at immigration now, scam artists are charging migrants for job offers and visas in countries including Nepal, India and Vietnam. Does this concern you at all? Are you worried about potential damage to New Zealand's reputation?
Look, this is a very worrisome question that you're putting because basically it is our reputation, but worse than that, it is taking people from countries innocently into slavery in our country. And over a number of years, I've been saying that this is wrong. It's been happening in the misuse of women, prostitution, slavery of this kind has gone on under the authorities' noses, and they've kept on ignoring it. Now, the United States was putting out statements about slavery around the world, and they included us in it, and we should have been concerned about that. So, of course, it's a worry about our reputation. But here's a bigger worry. If you're that poor person who comes over from Nepal, and I'm told there's over 500 of those cases, how on earth could they get through Immigration New Zealand other than Immigration New Zealand is the most inefficient, unworkable government department there is? It's a circus. They don't know what's going on. They should know what's going on because it's in our name that these practices are so appalling in our social settings, so to speak, and so bad for our human values. It's in this environment that it's happening, and it should not be happening in New Zealand.
So do you believe that we can afford to bring in migrants, especially with ongoing social problems here around housing, employment and health? What should we be doing?
Well, the right migrant, yes, and we've always needed the right migrant for the right job. You just don't want mouths to feed, like consumption, because that's here today and gone tomorrow. You want people who can come here that we need to build our economy and grow our international wealth and make more money for this country. That's what our view has always been. And if you go to Asia, you'll find every Asian politician, whatever their politics, can't understand what our policy is because it doesn't make sense to them. We need to have targeted immigration. But here's the point. We've got all this crisis going on about infrastructure and about housing. Cyclone and Gabriel's victims and all those people need this money now. So up in Piha and other places as well, and on the East Coast, all need money now. And to make sure we haven't got a chance of getting ahead of it, we're bringing in 100,000 immigrants net right here, right now in 2023. Let me compare that to alarm bells in the UK. They're taking in 600,000 for a country 61 plus million, and we're taking 100,000 for a country just over 5 million. We're doing it. A massive strain is now coming onto our country's infrastructure, our housing needs, our education needs, our health needs, and our first world job needs, and above all, our infrastructure. And to make sure we can't possibly get ahead of it, in a campaign only 5 weeks away from the election, you've got all these parties making promises without ever turning to this massive demand that's coming, for which we've had made no preparation whatsoever. So what I can guarantee you in all those areas, health, education, housing, and infrastructure, the circumstances, because of their stupid policy of bringing in this number, are only going to get worse.
Okay.
And the people watching the program, and the people watching this program will pay the biggest price of all, because they're the ones who need this more than any other group of viewers on any media program there is.
Okay, Mr. Peters, keen to get your thoughts around the bilingual road signs that seem to have a small pocket of Kiwis at odds. What are your thoughts about these?
Well, you know what Tauriko means? That was one of the signs that was changed. It means the Tauranga Remu Company. That's what it actually, how they got the name. It's not a Maori context in that sense. And then when you add crescent, road, avenue, street, or no exit, or, slow for the next 500 meters, how on earth are you going to make these signs work? Now, let me tell you, I know something about the provincial Maori world, where out there they need their roads fixed. They need, up north, for example, over 1,000 single lane bridges, potholes everywhere, bad roading. I think if you ask the Maori up there, do you want the roads fixed and the potholes fixed right here, right now, or a name change? I'm pretty certain they'll tell you what they want. But of course, at the universities and in the leafy suburbs of this country where some of our people live, they want something else.
Okay. Just before you go, I want to ask you how the hunt's going for New Zealand First candidates to try to contest the upcoming general election.
Is that an offer of a candidacy, Neil, or what?
Yeah.
The reality is we've got some seriously good candidates coming, and when they're known, there's going to be a big surprise in this country. We've got a lot of experienced politicians as well coming back, but we've got some seriously exciting men and female candidates coming on board as well. We just launched a guy the other day in Blenheim. He's the highest polling councillor there, a guy called Jamie Arbuckle. But we've got a great lineup coming, and we'll unfold them as we have these meetings going on very quickly now in the next few months.
All right. New Zealand First leader Winston Peters, thank you so much for joining us today. Ngā mihi kia koe.
Thank you.